The Aztec (Aztec) people were certain ethnic groups of central Mexico, particularly those groups who spoke the Nahuatl language and who dominated large parts of Mesoamerica from the 14th to 16th centuries. The Nahuatl words Aztecatl, Aztecatl, and Azteca mean people from Aztlan, a mythological place for the Nahuatl-speaking culture of the time, and later adopted as the word to define the Mexica people. Often the term Aztec refers exclusively to the Mexica people of Tenochtitlan, situated on an island in Lake Texcoco, who refer to themselves as Mexica Tenochca, Mexica Tenochca, or Colwa Mexica, Colwa Mexica. Sometimes the term also includes the inhabitants of Tenochtitlan's two principal allied city-states, the Acolhuas of Texcoco and the Tepanecs of Tlacopan, who together with the Mexica formed the Aztec Triple Alliance, which controlled what is often known as the Aztec Empire. In other contexts, Aztec may refer to all the various city-states and the peoples who shared large parts of their ethnic history and cultural traits with the Mexica, Acolhua and Tepanecs, and who often also used the Nahuatl language as a lingua franca. In this meaning it is possible to talk about an Aztec civilization including all the particular cultural patterns common for most of the peoples inhabiting central Mexico in the late post-classic period. From the 13th century, the Valley of Mexico was the heart of Aztec civilization. Here the capital of the Aztec Triple Alliance, the city of Tenochtitlan, was built upon raised islets in Lake Texcoco. The Triple Alliance formed a tributary empire expanding its political hegemony far beyond the Valley of Mexico, conquering other city-states throughout Mesoamerica. At its pinnacle, Aztec culture had rich and complex mythological and religious traditions, as well as reaching remarkable architectural and artistic accomplishments. In 1521 Hernán Cortés, along with a large number of Nahuatl-speaking indigenous allies, conquered Tenochtitlan and defeated the Aztec Triple Alliance under the leadership of Huitzilopochtli Moctezuma II. Subsequently the Spanish founded the new settlement of Mexico City on the site of the ruined Aztec capital, from where they proceeded with the process of colonizing Central America. Aztec culture and history is primarily known through archaeological evidence found in excavations such as that of the renowned Templo Mayor in Mexico City, from indigenous bark paper codices, from eyewitness accounts by Spanish conquistadors such as Hernán Cortés and Bernal Díaz del Castillo, and, especially from 16th and 17th century descriptions of Aztec culture and history written by Spanish clergymen and literate Aztecs in the Spanish or Nahuatl language, such as the famous Florentine Codex compiled by the Franciscan monk Bernardino de Sahagún with the help of indigenous Aztec informants. Definitions. Aztec people. When used about ethnic groups, the term Aztec refers to several Nahuatl-speaking peoples of central Mexico in the post-classic period of Mesoamerican chronology, especially the ethnic group that had a leading role in establishing the hegemonic empire based at Tenochtitlan, the Mexica. Other ethnic groups associated with the Aztec Empire are the Acolhua and Tepanec ethnic groups and some of the ethnic groups that were incorporated into the empire, and the term is also sometimes used about them. In recent usage these ethnic groups are rather referred to as the Nahua peoples. Linguistically the term Aztecan is still used about the branch of the Uto-Aztecan languages that includes the Nahuatl language and its closest relatives Pashutic and Pipil. To the Aztecs themselves the word Aztec was not an endonym for any particular ethnic group. Rather it was an umbrella term used to refer to several ethnic groups, not all of them Nahuatl-speaking. that claimed heritage from the mythic place of origin, Aztlan. In the Nahuatl language, Aztecatl means person from Aztlan. In 1810, Alexander von Humboldt originated the modern usage of Aztec as a collective term applied to all the people linked by trade, custom, religion, and language to the Mexica state and the Triple Alliance. In 1843, with the publication of the work of William H. Prescott, it was adopted by most of the world, including 19th-century Mexican scholars who saw it as a way to distinguish present-day Mexicans from pre-conquest Mexicans. This usage has been the subject of debate in more recent years, but the term Aztec is still more common. Aztec culture is the culture of the people referred to as Aztecs. But since all ethnic groups of central Mexico in the post-classic period shared most basic cultural traits, many of the basic traits of Aztec culture cannot be said to be exclusive for the Aztecs. For the same reason, the notion of Aztec civilization is best understood as a particular horizon of a general Mesoamerican civilization. The culture of central Mexico includes maize cultivation, the social division between noble Pipiltin and Maizhuli commoners, a pantheon, and the calendric system of Azia Pouli of 365 days intercalated with a tonal Pouli of 260 days. Particular to the Aztecs of Tenochtitlan was the Mexica patron god Huitzilopochtli, twin pyramids, and the ceramic ware known as Aztec III. Aztec Empire. The Aztec Empire was a tribute empire based in Tenochtitlan, which extended its power throughout Mesoamerica in the late post-classic period. It originated in 1427 as a triple alliance between the city-states Tenochtitlan, Texcoco and Tlacopan, who allied to defeat the Tepanec state of Azcapotzalco, that had previously dominated the basin of Mexico. Soon Texcoco and Tlacopan became junior partners in the alliance, which was de facto led by the Mexica of Tenochtitlan. The empire extended its power by a combination of trade and military conquest. It was never a true territorial empire controlling a territory by large military garrisons in conquered provinces, but rather controlled its client states primarily by installing friendly rulers in conquered cities, by constructing marriage alliances between the ruling dynasties, and by extending an imperial ideology to its client states. Client states paid tribute to the Aztec emperor, the Huitzilopochtli, in an economic strategy limiting communication and trade between outlying polities, making them depend on the imperial center for the acquisition of luxury goods. The political clout of the empire reached far south into Mesoamerica, conquering cities as far south as Chiapas in Guatemala and spanning from the Pacific to the Atlantic Oceans. The empire reached its maximal extent in 1519, just prior to the arrival of the Spanish conquistadors led by Cortés, who managed to topple the Aztec empire by allying with some of the traditional enemies of the Aztecs, the Nahuatl speaking Tlaxcalteca. History. Migrational period. The Nahua peoples began to migrate into Mesoamerica from northern Mexico in the 6th century. They populated central Mexico, dislocating speakers of Otomangan languages as they spread their political influence south. As the former nomadic hunter-gatherer peoples mixed with the complex civilizations of Mesoamerica, adopting religious and cultural practices, the foundation for later Aztec culture was laid. During the post-classic period, they rose to power at such sites as Tula, Hidalgo. In the 12th century, the Nahua power center was in Azcapotzalco, from where the Tepanecs dominated the Valley of Mexico. Around this time, the Mexica Tribe arrived in central Mexico. Rise of the Triple Alliance. The true origin of the Mexicas is uncertain. According to their legends, the Mexica Tribe place of origin was Aztlan. It is generally thought that Aztlan was somewhere to the north of the Valley of Mexico. Some experts have placed it as far north as the southwestern United States. Based on these codices as well as other histories, it appears that the Mexicans arrived at Chapultepec in or around the year 1248. At the time of their arrival, the Valley of Mexico had many city-states, the most powerful of which were Culhuacan to the south and Azcapotzalco to the west. The Tepanecs of Azcapotzalco soon expelled the Mexicans from Chapultepec. In 1299, Culhuacan ruler Cocoxtli gave them permission to settle in the empty barrens of Tizapan, where they were eventually assimilated into Culhuacan culture. According to Aztec legend, in 1323, the Mexicans were shown a vision of an eagle perched on a prickly pear cactus, eating a snake. This vision indicated that this was the location where they were to build their home. In any event, the Mexicans eventually arrived on a small swampy island in Lake Texcoco where they founded the town of Tenochtitlan in 1325. In 1376, the Mexicans elected their first Huitlacoani, Acamapictli, who was living in Texcoco at the time. For the next 50 years, until 1427, the Mexica were a tributary of Azcapotzalco, which had become a regional power, perhaps the most powerful since the Toltecs, centuries earlier. Maxtla, son of Tezozomoc, assassinated Ximalpopoca, the Mexica ruler. In an effort to defeat Maxtla, Ximalpopoca's successor, Itzcoatl, allied with the exiled ruler of Texcoco, Nezahualcoyotl. This coalition was the foundation of the Aztec Triple Alliance, which defeated Azcapotzalco in 1428. The Triple Alliance of Tenochtitlan, Texcoco, and Tlacopan would, in the next 100 years, come to dominate the Valley of Mexico and extend its power to both the Gulf of Mexico and the Pacific shore. Over this period, Tenochtitlan gradually became the dominant power in the alliance. Two of the primary architects of the Aztec Empire were the half-brothers Tlacaelel and Moctezuma, nephews of Itzcoatl. Moctezuma succeeded Itzcoatl as Huitlacoani in 1440. Although he was also offered the opportunity to be Tlatoani, Tlacaelel preferred to operate as the power behind the throne. Tlacaelel reformed the Aztec state and religion. According to some sources, he ordered the burning of most of the extant Aztec books, claiming that they contained lies. He thereupon rewrote the history of the Aztec people, thus creating a common awareness of history for the Aztecs. This rewriting led directly to the curriculum taught to scholars and promoted the belief that the Aztecs were always a powerful and mythic nation, forgetting forever a possible true history of modest origins. One component of this reform was the institution of ritual war as a way to have trained warriors, and created the necessity of constant sacrifices to keep the sun moving. Spanish conquest. The empire reached its height during Ahuitzal's reign in 1486 to 1502. His successor, Motecuzomazocayotza, had been Huitlacoani for 17 years when the Spaniards, led by Hernando Cortés, landed on the Gulf Coast in the spring of 1519. Despite some early battles between the two, Cortés allied himself with the Aztecs' longtime enemy, the Confederacy of Tlaxcala, and arrived at the gates of Tenochtitlan on November 8, 1519. The Spaniards and the Tlaxcalan allies became increasingly dangerous and unwelcome guests in the capital city. In June 1520, hostilities broke out, culminating in the massacre in the Great Temple and the death of Moctezuma II. The Spaniards fled the town on July 1, an episode later characterized as La Noche Triste. They and the native allies returned in the spring of 1521 to lay siege to Tenochtitlan, a battle that ended on August 13 with the destruction of the city. During this period, the now crumbling empire went through a rapid line of ruler succession. After the death of Moctezuma II, the empire fell into the hands of severely weakened emperors, such as Cuitlahuac, before eventually being ruled by puppet rulers, such as Andrés de Tapia Motelcua, installed by the Spanish. Despite the decline of the Aztec Empire, most of the Mesoamerican cultures were intact after the fall of Tenochtitlan. Indeed, the freedom from Aztec domination may have been considered a positive development by most of the other cultures. The upper classes of the Aztec Empire were considered noblemen by the Spaniards and generally treated as such initially. All this changed rapidly, and the native population were soon forbidden to study by law, and had the status of minors. The Tlaxcalans remained loyal to their Spanish friends and were allowed to come on other conquests with Cortés and his men. Colonial period population decline in 1520 to 1521. An outbreak of smallpox swept through the population of Tenochtitlan and was decisive in the fall of the city. It is estimated that between 10% and 50% of the population fell victim to this epidemic. Subsequently, the Valley of Mexico was hit with two more epidemics, smallpox and typhus. The Spaniards, to consolidate the diminishing population, merged the survivors from small towns in the Valley of Mexico into bigger ones. This broke the power of the upper classes, but did not dissolve the coherence of the indigenous society in Greater Mexico. The population before the time of the conquest is unknown and hotly contested, but disease is known to have ravaged the region. Thus, the indigenous population of the Valley of Mexico is estimated to have declined by more than 80% in the course of about 60 years.